Hi, this is Shannon Port, and I welcome you to the Art of the Feminine podcast. Today it's April 25th, and we are here to discuss the Taurus new moon cycle. The Taurus new moon is tomorrow on April 26th. We are going to actually talk about it in a way that's very relevant throughout the cycle. So we'll also be talking about Beltane, which happens on May 1st up through lunar Beltane, which falls on the Scorpio full moon on May 10th. And so we're going to cover just all of the energies that are really, really powerful for right now on the planet for manifesting and for kind of taking a step back and reorganizing our lives, reorganizing our values, taking a close look at what's really, really important to us at this time on earth with so many changes happening in the world. And so I want to say a couple things. I have organized the channel at Art of the Feminine. And so it's actually the channel is under Shannon Port. And so all of the podcasts that I refer to are all now in playlists. And so if you're interested in any of the podcasts that I've referred to on the teachings on sexuality, the new human sexual paradigm, the alchemy of the goddess, um, the teachings, all the divine feminine wisdom teachings that we covered in the first year of the podcast on iTunes, as well as all of the archetypes of the major arcana that we did an hour podcast on each one. Those can all be found on the Shannon Port channel. And so please take a look at them if you're interested. Also, please subscribe to the channel. If this is material that interests you, please subscribe. I'm doing 2 to 3 podcasts per month now. And I hope to keep that up. And I'm really enjoying it and really enjoying connecting with so many of you. And so also leave comments. It's a wonderful way to communicate. And I had some really nice connections with you in the last podcast because I remembered to say that if you're watching the podcast live, which it looks like a few people have tuned in for the live stream, I believe you cannot, I don't think you can comment when it's during the live stream. So you'll have to, you'll you'll have to wait until the podcast is over and then come back and leave a comment. Leave questions, feedback, or if you have any suggestions or things that you'd like me to address in the next podcast, I'm happy to do that. And the last thing is that as Venus is now direct, I misspoke last time and said she was going retrograde on April 15th, but she's stationed direct April 15th. And so I postponed starting mentoring until May, until after Venus was kind of warmed up and heading on her forward trajectory again as the morning star. And so if you're interested in this work, I am working with individuals one-on-one to teach the divine feminine wisdom and actually just really download it in a way that happens in a mentoring and coaching format. And so it's really, really about addressing relationships, healing sexuality, integration of the masculine and feminine, all of the teachings on alchemy, and whatever really interests you is what we'll focus on. But it's really about making the teachings really practical in your life. And so I'll leave a link to that in the comment section. And so and the last thing is that I'm not going to talk too much about it today, but in June, I'm teaching a course that's 7 weeks long. I've taught it one other time, and it's called The Inner Mystery School of Divine Love. And so it's very sacred. It's a 7-week telecourse that is about the inner mysteries of the goddess. And so it's a really powerful course. I will be talking about it a little bit in the next couple videos I do. All right, so we are going to talk about the Taurus new moon, and we'll be talking a little bit about Beltane. And we're going to talk a lot about Venus, because Venus is the ruler of Taurus, and Venus has just completed a really, really a major alchemy. The alchemy of fire and water. She's not back in Aries yet, but her stationing direct has been so incredibly powerful. And so I want to talk about that. I want to talk about what that means, because so many planets are retrograde right now, and so it's almost like we're in a pause. We're in the gap. We're in a pause in space time right now with so many planets retrograde, and we've been through so much activity and so much heated activity and a lot of tension in the world. Um, in the past year, in 2016, I know in the United States it was an election year, and ever since the election in November, things have been very, very unsettled. There's been a lot of discord and a lot of people searching and wondering what's next, what's happening, and a lot of people that are tuned in to the ascension process and to all of the alchemy that's happening on our earth are really watching this time closely because of the energies that are happening. So we'll start by I want to start by just going over some points about Taurus and some of the things that we're going to get into. First, we'll look at the archetype of Taurus. I'll go over some of these points. We'll look at the archetype of Taurus because it's so potent right now. And we're going to talk about, the podcast is about manifesting abundance. The theme that we're going to really get into is how we can use the energies of Taurus. I keep looking outside because it's just rained and everything is turning green right now, and it's so, I have really big windows and a piece of land that's just thriving with life and thriving with Taurus Venusian energy. And so it's really speaking right now. It's vibrating quite at quite a high frequency right now. All right, so we'll talk about, I'll go over some points that we're going to talk about. We'll look at the archetypes of Taurus and Venus, and then we'll look at some of the activity, how the archetypes are dancing right now, and then we'll talk a little bit about, oh, there's a lot. There's a lot of different things that came in. So harmonizing with nature. We're going to talk a little bit about AI, artificial intelligence, versus the power of Venus and the alchemy of Venus and the goddess. So we'll save that until the end. And so, all right, just a couple things to start with. A couple points that I jotted down. I actually, I see. It's so funny. I actually opened up the chat. So I didn't announce this I didn't give a lot of time. And so I haven't really used chat, but it looks like I figured out how to pop the window out. So I'll check on it periodically. I saw a couple of you. Hi, it's good to see you. So we'll start by saying we're going to talk about manifesting abundance right now on Earth. It's so important that with everything going on, we focus on some of the positive, even though there are so many changes happening right now. And we all know that there is there are two opposing forces that are seeking to create the reality for humanity. And so there's a lot going on. There's a lot of deception. We've talked about all of those things. Today I want to keep it in the positive, because it's right now, it's really about being in the heart and creating the world we want. And this is as Venus just did this tremendous alchemy as she's going forward and getting ready and getting warmed up. Even though a lot of the other planets are retrograde, it's a time to think about, she's fresh. It's a time to think about creating what you want. And we're going to talk about some inspiration on how to do that and remember that. So we create what we believe. Our beliefs show up in our world every day. It's a law. It's part of the natural law of living in in the manifest world. We work with the unmanifest energies, the limitless light, the pure potential, which is represented by the high priestess, the pure ocean of love that holds all potential for all creation. We go into the stillness, we access that potential, and we form it with our beliefs. We form it with our beliefs, our thoughts. They are our words. They are our actions. Our beliefs are the things that we commit to, and our beliefs are the way we live our life. And so it's important at a time like this to remember that even if what we don't like what we're seeing on the outside in on the world stage, we can start right now by creating the world around us. We can absolutely do that. And so um Taurus is the second house, and Taurus actually rules at this time. We're looking at the Taurus new moon cycle. Taurus rules it stands for what we value, what we build, where we live, our home. It stands for what gives us pleasure, what we find beautiful. It stands for what we create. It also stands for what we speak. Taurus rules the throat. Venus rules the throat. In the chakra system, Venus is the fifth chakra in the chakra system. And she also corresponds to the heart, but in the chakras, she is the throat. And it's her, she gives us the power to speak. And as we speak, we create. And we know that. Done a lot of podcasts on that. The power of the word. As we speak, we create. Our tongue is the pen that writes our life. It's like the firelight that's creating. Everything we do is creative. Our material world reflects our beliefs, our programming, and our genetics. And so there's always the question of, well, how does a baby create their reality? How does a baby create what's happening to them? They're barely getting started. They're not even thinking. They're still in bliss. We also carry in our genetic blueprint, and our genetic blueprint and our DNA are the collective thoughts of our family lines and the DNA that we take on. And so we are carrying the blueprint of our family. We're carrying the sins of our father, the sins of our mother. We're carrying the beauty of our father, the beauty of our mother. But as souls, we manifest through this DNA link. And so we carry things right off the bat when we come in. And then we have our planetary energies that we work with in astrology. I work with different levels of astrology. I work with the astrology of the zodiac, which is based on the law of 12. And then I also work with the Kabbalistic that works with the law of 7 that governs the law of 12. And so there's different levels of looking at it. What I really want to say, though, is that we are the creators. We trump all of it. And so even though when you look at your natal chart, when you look at your transits, and when you're looking at everything that's happening day to day, week to week, month to month, it will tell you, it will give you a good idea of what the weather is. It will let you know what's happening. Because as you came into this personality and this body that you are in right now, you're taking on a particular program. It's like a computer program. You're taking on a program that you have created before you came in, through other, if you subscribe to this, through other lifetimes. Through some of it, I mean, there's different ways we understand this through different schools of thought, but some of it's enforced. Some of it has come through the lords of limitation, the karma, those who place karma on us that maybe we haven't even earned. But there are also the things that we've earned and the things that reflect the relationships we've had in the past. So when we're looking at astrology, that's what we see. However, and I want to say this because this particular um, video, we're talking about manifesting. We can always, always choose to go into our heart and to go into the sun and create whatever we want. And so we can chase our astrology. We can look at the good transits. We can dread the bad transits. We can look at the good days, the bad days. There will always be change. One day will be good. The next day will be bad. One year will be a great year. The next year will be more challenging. One year will be a year of growth. One year will cruise through. It's all wonderful. It's all part of the game of life. But the truth is that as divine creators, we are the center of all of it. We're the center of the wheel in the wheel of fortune, and we really, really can step into our heart, which is Venus, and create what we want at any given time. What we create is related to how we breathe. It's related to how we think. It's related to how we judge or criticize others. how we interact, how we interface with this world, how we respond to our challenges. um, we always have we most of the time we have an opportunity of how to respond. We have an opportunity to choose how we respond, even in the face of the deepest challenges. And so that's why this work makes us know that we can live in bliss through all the waxing and waning of the physical world. We can live in bliss, and we can be divine creators and read it from the heart rather than through the mind or the ego. We can read it as powerful creators rather than victims. And so we'll make more sense of that as we go. So I wanted to make the point though that we do carry our genetics. And so we can also change and neutralize our genetics. And that's what a lot of us are here to do right now. A lot of us that are healing for our families are here to kind of neutralize our family line, neutralize the karma and the burdens of our family, so that our children may not have to carry that. And so it's very spiritual work. All right, intuition, which is very related to Taurus, is the link. It's the bridge to our divine self. And Taurus is the archetype of Taurus is the Hierophant. The Hierophant is the inner teacher. And so in the archetypes, the Hierophant, we're going to talk about the Hierophant, it is the inner voice, and it's the inner teacher. It's the inner wisdom. And we have the opportunity to connect to our inner teacher and be guided all the time. In fact, that's what we're being asked to do. Guided, not only guided, but to create what we want in this life. Intuition. So very few people in our world, there's only a small amount of humanity that actually operates on the intuitive principle. There's human levels of intuition. So a lot of people get hunches and can follow. There's human level of intuition and the soul level. A lot of people are intuitive, but real intuition is the power of the goddess. And it's the power to be linked to the divine wisdom within you at all times. And so when you solve problems, when you make decisions, when you choose relationships, when you build your home, meaning your world around you, when you're connected to intuition, which is connected to the number 5, which is connected to the sign of Taurus, which is connected to the pentagram, which is connected to Venus, all of these things through the law of correspondence work together. When we have intuition, we have pure power, and we have so much love for those people in our life that surround us. And that's another thing I really want to talk about is I want to talk about the importance right now of being in tune with our loved ones, our children, our partners, and our family. Like never before, it's time to honor those relationships and see how much beauty we have before us. All right. So intuition, imagine if all our government officials and government leaders and rulers were operating from intuition. It would be a different world. And intuition doesn't mean you're religious. It doesn't mean that you subscribe to any particular set of beliefs. It just means that you're guided in the now. And when we're guided in the now, and we're connected to what is also known as I am, we connect wisdom, love, and power, and the decisions we make just make more sense. The struggles we see when we look into the outer world reflect a chaotic, egoic situation. Some of it is intentional, some of it is not. Some of it's just plain um, lack of wisdom and maturity on the path. And so now is a time about connecting with intuition, connecting with the heart, because intuition operates through the heart and through the feeling centers, and knowing that part of our being. And one of the ways we get to know that part of our being is through nature. And I'm going to talk again. I'm going to give some specific experiences that I've had that have just been profound. But the nature around us is what is going to unlock intuition. I have a quote. I don't have as many quotes as I had last time, but this is an Emerson quote. And it's about the stars, but it's about all of nature. But if man would be alone, let him look at the stars. The rays that come from those heavenly worlds will separate between him and vulgar things. The rays that come from those heavenly worlds will separate between him and vulgar things. This goes for all of nature. And as I look out on this nature right now, when I sit and just am with the presence of the goddess as she operates through Taurus, through the earth mother, through the goddess that is the physical world, something shifts every single time. And I'm really lucky that I have these windows so that the first thing I see every morning when I walk out is I check in with her, and it's like, oh, it immediately attunes me to something higher. If I've traveled into the lower astral world in a dream, or if something negative has come up, the second I walk out and connect with her, I'm so used to having that relationship with her that the second I see her, my heart opens wide. Nature, Taurus, this Taurus energy is heart opening. And so when we learn to really make that a part of our life, we cannot help but to have our heart open on some level. It's probably different for everybody, but I know for me, it's just my son is in Taurus. I happen to be pretty linked up with Taurus, but I know that nature is here right now to teach us and to help us tune for what's happening, because she can tell us what's happening with the sun, and she's interacting with the sun, receiving the light, boosting spirit through nature, up ascending. We have different dimensions of earth, and so she is bringing earth. There's all this alchemy happening that's very much related to the Venus retrograde and the Venus transits, that attunes our heart to not only the earth but to the sun and to the sun beyond. Okay, so Taurus is nature. We said that the moon is exalted in Taurus. So this new moon is truly, when we're having a new moon in Taurus, it's really about planting a new seed, because it's planting the seed in nature. The moon governs elemental nature. So everything you see that happens in nature is under the fluctuations of the moon, the waxing and waning. That's why this new moon in Taurus, even though it happens on April 26th, but as the moon makes a new moon and it's conjunct with the sun, it waxes for 2 weeks. We have a waxing energy, and then we hit the full moon in Scorpio, and then the energies of the moon begin to wane. In nature, all elemental nature responds to that, and that's why we use the moon. We understand how to work with the moon to create. It's very powerful, even though perhaps this cycle is manipulated. Perhaps perhaps we're going to go into a different cycle. Understanding how the cycle works helps us to go beyond the cycle. And so the moon is exalted in Taurus, so that we have another divine feminine, that the high priestess is exalted in Taurus. The Taurus is the empress, is Venus in the archetypes. And so, Venus rules Taurus, and so Venus is the empress. So we have the empress and the high priestess in Taurus. They are acting upon the earth. This is really this is the archetypal energy of the creative power of the feminine. And we're going to talk about both those archetypes. We are the creators. The riches of the earth are our riches, and earth responds to and mirrors our human consciousness. We are wired so that the earth around us is constantly dancing according to what we are thinking, and according to our heart as well. Humanity has been shut down in the heart a lot by a lot of the artificial intelligence and the technology. It's become so, for most human beings, it's become so heavy in their auric field that the vibration of nature is not able to penetrate through. It creates a stifled field. It can. We have to make sure that we balance ourselves with the creative imagination, CI, to neutralize AI, and then eventually we'll learn how they work in a very similar way. But right now, one of them is hooked up to a plan for humanity that's not in the interest of the heart. And we're interested here on this platform. We're interested in the unfolding and the awakening of the human heart. All right. So Taurus, let's look at Taurus. Let's look at some of the correspondences for Taurus. We mentioned some of them already. Nature with a capital N, the body of the earth. The earth is our body as well. We're part of her body. And remember, we mirror, and the moon helps us to mirror through the elemental nature what we think we create, what we take in, what we accept and believe we create. So be careful in these times when things are very, very, there's a lot of truth out there that's very heavy and very dark. And this is a fact. This is coming through my my ideas about this, but be careful about how much you take in. I know there's periods where I take in a lot just to really use it in my own work, but more and more now I'm being shown through my own work to stand back and to really go into the heart right now, because we're getting ready to change. Things are changing over. We're going to be seeing more and more change and more revelation. The goddess works through revelation. Values, riches, wealth in the material world is Taurus. Beauty, the kind of beauty that comes from the heart, and the kind of beauty that pleases our senses, and the kind of beauty that gives us pleasure. You might think music, and the human form is very, very beautiful. Um, Heart opening beauty. Beauty that opens the heart is surely connected to the higher vibration of Taurus. Taurus is steadfast. It's steadfastness. It's the ability to stand on our own 2 feet, to grow roots, and to create something. It's in that way, it's commitment. We have to have in this lifetime, we're taking an initiation in love. And so, in our initiation in love, we have to learn how to commit. It's not just about blowing our seeds all over the place. We are learning how to plant seeds, cultivate that process, and alchemize through that process to bear a very special kind of fruit with human consciousness. And that takes presence, and it takes some commitment. That's why relationships are so important right now. Friendships, love relationships, learning how to go through a certain kind of we'll say alchemy with another human being of the heart is very, very powerful right now. And it takes commitment to do that, because God knows in this lifetime, things are just flashing before us all the time. Everything is seductive. Everything has that sparkly, we call it the hypnotic light, it's seductive, and it's intoxicating. So there's so much beauty. Not all of the beauty we see is the kind of beauty we're talking about. There's plenty of beauty in our world. There's no shortage of beauty. Beauty that opens the heart is what we're talking about. There's beauty that just opens the sexual channel. There's beauty that makes us fixate with the mind, and that really, really calls in the ego. The beauty we're talking about for our purposes today is the beauty that opens the heart, the beauty that we see, and it makes us breathe deeper and longer. It may quicken our heart, but it makes us know our own divinity, true beauty. Um, so patience, the ability to stay with something and watch it grow. So sometimes Taurus can be seen as stubborn, that the and sometimes too stubborn. The ability to grow, to plant, and to build is Taurus. Taurus is the voice, it's the sound, it's the song of nature. The universe is one song. It means one song, universe. Our universe is a song, and that means it's a sound. It's a sound vibration, and we are connected to creating that universe through our own sound, through the sound of our beating heart, and through the sound of our flowing blood, and through the sound of our voice, through the sound of our thoughts. Our you say Speaking out loud activates the physical plane. When I speak in a full voice, I'm activating the physical world. When I speak in a softer voice, I begin to access the spiritual plane, which is through the heart. And when I speak without speaking, when I speak internally, I am activating the divine plane. And so there's different octaves and levels of creating with the voice, which is really amazing. Okay, so Taurus is the inner teacher. It's the Hierophant. The inner teacher is key 5, and 5 is the number of the fall into the 5 sensual appetites. 5 represents the soul falling so hard that it forgot who it was, but 5 with the pentagram, with the point facing upwards, represents spirit governing over matter. And Venus in her transits, I'm sure many of you know, over an 8-year period, traces a pentagram in the sky and following the sun. And she works very closely with the sun, the Christic force. And so she's showing us through her archetype the power of 5, the power of wisdom, the power of being united with our inner presence. We are as good as lost without that presence. And so Venus and her consort, the sun, she knows the power of being united with our inner sun, which is our inner teacher. All right. Venus is the fire of nature. She's the fire spirit. Um, so the moon is the elemental nature, but Venus is the vibration of life in nature. When you sit with it and you feel, when you really take a soft gaze as you look at a tree, or as you look at flowers, or as you watching birds. I have this amazing bushes of birds outside my window. Birds, when they move and they flutter around, they when you watch them, you can tune into the song of nature, and you can go into the transcendent reality that's right before you. That's Venus. That's the spirit behind it. That's Venus. As her veil is lifting, we begin to really see the spirit of her. All right. So Taurus also is in polarity. We're going to be talking more about this on the axis of Taurus and Scorpio. Scorpio teaches about inner power and our inner reserves of beauty, and Taurus reflects the outer beauty and the outer appetites. They are perfect balance with each other because um, Scorpio has a strong connection with sexuality. To their vote, they're the most sexual signs in the zodiac. Taurus and Scorpio, they represent um, Taurus represents that the physical sexuality of merging and being tuned into beauty and what we're attracted to, even lust, and it can go way down into the shadow side. That's why it's part of the fall. And Scorpio represents sexual appetite based on power. And so it has a definite shadow side, and we're seeing our world. So many things are going to happen as different things happen around this axis, but we are Scorpio is interested in sexuality, but for power, not necessarily the earthly kind of pleasure that Taurus delights in sensuality, sensual pleasure. Scorpio is more of an internal power. So we're learning how to balance both. We're learning how to choose how to navigate and use our sexuality for pleasure and for beauty, but for real heart opening beauty. And in Taurus, or in Scorpio, we're learning how to balance power, how to have our own power, because we certainly need it. We need to have our own sexual power. We need to be connected with it. We need to feel connected to those deep, deep reserves of our goddess energy. But we also need to understand um, sovereignty and not wanting to control others or dominate others through that power in a very dark way, which we've seen plenty of on our planet. Okay, so we'll talk a little bit about the Empress. The Empress is Venus. The Hierophant is the archetype of Taurus, but the Empress is Venus. And the Empress is, oh, she's the creative imagination. So when we're talking, as we talked at the beginning, when we have thoughts on the quantum level of our body, our atoms are responding to us. The subatomic particles within our being respond to every thought that we have, which can be scary when you think about it. We're also human. We're having so many millions of thoughts a day that it's amazing. But we have our overall theme. Who we are in our heart is what holds our body together. So our body is it's a blueprint of who we are on the inside. And it's what we've brought in through our genetics and through other times that we've existed on this earth. We've created this physical vehicle. There's a saying that we always get the body that we need for each lifetime. And it's when we start to go deep into that, we start to understand it. There's clues within our physical body where we're strong, where we're vulnerable, where we stand out, where we're less secure about things, that all relate to our inner being. And so our body, just the blueprint of our body, which is very Taurus, holds keys to who we are when we sit with our body. But the key is to have non-judgment, never to judge our body. Take a bath and just check out yourself, check out your hands, your feet, your legs, and look at your fingernails, look at everything, and just look with love, and you'll see there's messages imprinted on the body that are amazing, that are really, really amazing. Okay, the Empress is also about divine love. She's about generation. She produces. She's the fertile mother, and she is, in the Hebrew letter, is Dalet. She is Dalet. She's the door, and she's the doorway to life. And so she rules Venus, she rules Taurus. She also rules Libra. And we talked about her in the Libra full moon that we just had. In Libra, she's more about the balance and the equilibrium in the heart. And she works with the heart in that way. In Taurus, she's more about the fertility and the generation and the regeneration of nature. And that's why it ties to manifesting abundance. We're going to talk about that more in just a moment. She's the door to life, Dalet. The archetype of the Hierophant is Vav, the Hebrew letter Vav, and that means the nail. It means because the Hierophant, which is the inner teacher, it nails us in it. But a nail, the action of a nail is to bring two things together so that they stick. The Hierophant allows us to have perfect connection with our intuition and our inner teacher. So the Hierophant, again, the archetype of Taurus, Venus, the Empress rules Taurus. She's the nurturer. And so, all right. All right. So the moon represents this pure potential within us. And every time we accept something into our life, we have the ability to draw from that substance and to begin to create. It's a divine and magical process. The more we're aware of it and the more we flow with it, the more we can do it. And so right now, manifesting is a huge part of what many people need right now, because we live in a world of materialism, and that can be one of the shadow sides of Taurus, is too many things, too much stuff, too much buying. And we're being fed so many through AI, we're being fed flashed so many impulses. Those impulses flash our nervous system and tell us to do something. So, I mean, I'm sitting in front of my computer right now, I'm receiving impulses. I have to be really centered, even working with technology, to hold the stream that I'm working with. And I'm seeing it more and more every day. So we have to be really grounded with this Taurus energy. The AI energies are getting more and more connected and more, and this isn't to be fearful, but they're connecting, they're linking up more and more, so that even in the past, I felt it in the past week, a real organization of that energy, the artificial energy that is trying to really come over human consciousness and absorb it, so that we give over our power to it. And so I know this is sounding like a video game, but it's really part of the paradigm we're in right now. We have so many devices that are everywhere. We're on our devices all the time. We're flashing ads all the time. We're seeing so many images all the time. Nature gives us something different than that. When we step out and we go into nature, we're going to get something really different than that. So make time to just kind of set the devices aside, go out, have a pattern that you have every day. And I'm going to share a personal story that's really powerful. Even to this day, when I look back on it, my heart opens. Make a pattern so that you train yourself to be with nature every day. Plant that seed at this new moon. Be with nature every day in some small way. If you just have a plant that you can go sit outside, on a lawn chair or whatever it is, and have your cup of tea, have your glass of wine, whatever it is, but just be with her and just look at this, and take in organic life and let organic life teach you how to create. When we attune ourselves to organic life, the world is so fertile. This planet is a fertile planet. Again, I've said this many times before. There is no excuse for poverty. There's no excuse for people going hungry. Nature shows us how to create. At the same time, she's responding to some of the harsh consciousness that humans have taken in. And so we do have barren lands. We do have places where the earth is not fruitful. And that is a whole another hour we could talk about, but that's the mirroring of human consciousness. Truly, nature is abundant, but she teaches us about seasons as well, and that there's a time to plant, a time to grow, a time to harvest, a time to store, and a time to reap the benefits of all of it, and to be. She's teaching us the process of alchemy. The truth is that the path of the sun, the path of the earth, the path of the moon, the path of the Venus, they're all teaching us, they're showing us what to do. We're in this system. We are in a system that we are trying to rise up and bring into a higher frequency, but everything around us is showing us what to do if we pay attention. Okay. So we've believed in this material world that it's solid, and we believed that we're separate from nature. When I believe that I'm separate from you, and when I believe that I'm separate from everybody and I just have to be by myself and all alone and figure it out alone, and that when I believe that nature is a separate entity from me, I stay in the paradigm that's been created over the past couple thousand years, much and longer. That's the programming. The programming is that the world is physical, is really dense and solid, and that we are all separate, and that we're all separate from our source. That is what we need to let go of. And all we need to do to let go of that is to connect with our inner teacher and breathe. Because when we connect with our inner teacher and when we understand the cleansing power of our breath, we can instantly tap in to the field of potential. That this ocean, this Akashic ocean of the infinite, limitless, exhaustless wealth. And we can have it spiritually, and we can have it materially. We are going to talk for a few minutes about inner and outer wealth, because there is a difference. A lot of people in our world have outer wealth and have no inner wealth. One who has outer wealth and doesn't have inner wealth, well, there's a saying that if you have wealth without wisdom and without spiritual growth, it's a curse. Because in the end, to have a lot of wealth without any opening in the heart or understanding of um, how to work with that wealth and create with that wealth in a way that's aligned with the feminine energies. If you have it and you don't have the inner wealth, it'll be a curse, because in the end you'll just have to go through learning a lesson that's probably not that enjoyable. So we'll leave it at that. But when we have inner wealth, when our inner wealth matches our outer wealth, it's the most divine state. It's union. And that's what there's many. I just want to say this to I want to say this to all of those people who are working so hard right now and doing so much spiritual work. There are so many souls that have such beautiful hearts and that are really tuned in and really awake. And unfortunately, because of these times, many of the souls that are in that are in the heightened vibration are not are struggling to create in the physical world, in meaning that there's almost like a poverty consciousness being beamed at those who hold the higher vibration, and there's a reason for that, but it's artificial, it's not real. And so in this paradigm, the that's that saying, the meek shall inherit the earth. What that means is that those who have suffered and cultivated inner wisdom and inner love and joy as this cycle is unfolding, are going to have all the wealth that you could ever possibly imagine. But the thing is that it will be joyful, but at the same time, when you've known the inner wealth, the outer wealth is just, it's a dance on a screen. It's nothing more than an illusion that we're playing with. The true riches are in our gnosis, they're in our union with our divine. But what I meant to say is that it's time now, at this time, for those who are doing all this work to really be able to create in the world. This is the time that's meant to happen. And so don't believe all the negativity. Don't take it in and accept it. Believe that you are a divine creator and that your love in your heart can create anything. It's the absolute truth. Um, Okay, I'm going to just tell a quick, give an example of being with nature, and so I'm going to give an example of two ways that I found a really depth of relationship with nature. Because everybody says, "Oh, go in nature, spend time with nature." We hear it on every video, every talk, the importance of nature. But what does that look like? So I'll tell you how I found it. I've spent a lot of time in nature through my whole life, and then I spent my older years and as I became an adult in mostly in New York City, so not as much. Um, and so in recent years, this is the experience I had. About 2 years ago, the place where I was living, I have rituals that I've always had and that go way back. That I get up very early in the morning, about 5, sometimes 4:30, but about 5 is about right. And it fluctuates a little with the seasons changing. And I have certain things that I do to start the day because the day is very busy, and there is a lot of technology involved, a lot of people involved, a lot of listening to people. I work with people on their personal lives, so I take in a lot of powerful situations that are very deep and that require a lot of presence and the ability to process things that aren't always, we, as we all know in this work, we go through very dark things. And so I like to tune in and start my day with connecting with the really establishing the connection with the inner wisdom, and then checking in with, there's a few things that I always keep by my side. I just, even a couple minutes of reading in certain ancient scriptures will immediately, because I've done it so often, tune me in. Um, and so there was, during the summer of 2015, in the home that I was living in, I wasn't able to do this in my house and have that privacy because of things that were going on. And so I thought, what am I going to do? It got to the point where it was a little hard in the morning to get that time. And so I decided to go outside every morning. Sometimes I can't remember. It was between 4:30 and 5. The property that I was on had a stream, a beautiful stream with a hillside that had trees growing up the hill. And next to the stream, there were bushes that all were inhabited by all kinds of birds, and they would hide in the bushes. And so I would go out in the morning while it was still dark. And it's because that was the time I got up and the sun wasn't ready to come out yet. So I would go out, make a big cup of chai tea, carry my stuff out, walk out in the dewy grass all the way back to the stream where I had my chair set up and a table on each side, and just sit in the dark waiting for the sun to rise. Those couple of months changed my life, because I've always, before that, I would walk at sunrise, and I have a hike that I take at sunrise, but I would wait until the sun was already coming up. It was light when I was going out. Sitting in the dark outside in nature by a running stream with birds fluttering around in bushes, with dew on the grass, waiting for the sun to come up, was the most alive feeling I ever had in my body. It was so potent, and all of the teachings tell us that. If you've had worked with any of the different disciplines and meditation, we know that the waxing tides are between 3 a.m., 7 a.m., 4 a.m., 7 a.m., where it's really powerful to meditate because you get the incoming sun rays. The sun, when the sun is rising, it's waxing, just like when the moon is new, it's waxing. And so when the moon is new, we're getting energies to create within the physical world. It's elemental nature. At the new moon, we plant seeds and we literally have tangible stuff, subatomic particles coming to us and creating atoms and particles and molecules and making up our world. But the sun the sunlight fluid is prana, and that affects our chakras and all of our centers in our brain, our pituitary gland, our pineal gland, and our heart. Really, Venus alchemizes with the sun. So I was so intoxicated on this energy of nature at this time from about 4:35 a.m. till about 6:15. I forget what time. The sun changes a little bit every day. It's the time it rises. Watching it come up, though, after having been sitting in the darkness, hearing the sounds of nature and feeling the dew. I would walk out on the dew because it's so good for your feet too. The morning dew on your feet can heal you, and walking on grass, very, very powerful. I would go to bed at night like a kid, on Christmas Eve, every single night. That's the power of nature. I just wanted to share that story because I haven't told many people about that. It was something I look forward to so much, and the stillness, but the song of nature, because nobody's up yet. So there's a certain magic in the morning. Sunrise is a powerful time if you want to work with energies of the sunrise. Right now I'm recording this, and I usually I don't do live stream at this time, but we're in the waning hours of the moon, or of the sun. The moon, it's twilight between 4 p.m. and 7 p.m. every day. That's when the sun the tides start to go out, and that's why it's twilight, where it's considered a time when heavier energies start to come in. And if you're awake, you can feel that. It's definitely a different time of the day between 4 p.m. and 7 p.m. So, and the other thing is that walking to I had a hike in nature. I would walk for years every morning, and I'm not living by this same hike anymore, but it was so beautiful. I walked it over 1,000 times, walking up this hill, hiking up this hill, very steep hill, as the sun was coming up every morning. Because so I'd be hiking up as the sun was coming up, and watching and listening to nature respond was just absolutely an amazing and powerful spiritual experience. These are the kinds of things that will help us ascend. That's where the wealth is. So she's giving it to us right now. All right. So I can't believe time went pretty fast. Let me see. I want to talk a little bit about so presence is really powerful. So let me see if I can just bring in some ideas for creating. What you believe, you will create. The thing is that it takes commitment. Taurus teaches that if you want to love something or somebody, there has to be commitment. In relationships, we commit and we go through different periods, and we alchemize through that. Our heart continues to open and know the depths of love, the joy of love beyond just a fling or lust. Sexuality is so deep. I mean, that's one of the ways that it's one of the mysteries, and it's so deep. But in the same way, it takes commitment to what we believe. If we need to adjust what we believe, if we don't like what we're seeing, we need to sit down and really think, what am I believing right now? If there's something you don't like, find the belief that created it. It may be familial. Might be coming from your genetic patterning, but figure out if there's poverty consciousness or victim consciousness, and this can be very deep. That's the only reason there is deep work and spiritual work. There are times where we have to look at the unpleasant, because if we don't know, it's our subconscious mind that's doing most of the creating. Our conscious mind knows, but any patterns planted in our subconscious mind are the foundation of our life. All of the things that have been handed down to us, all of the subliminal things right now, that's huge. Subliminal ideas being broadcast to people, which are humanity that's not connected to the intuitive is creating this agenda that's being beamed to it through all kinds of technology. But we have to be in our heart. We have to know what our beliefs are. Believe what you want to believe. If you find something that opens you, cleave to it and use that to believe, and then use the power of the creative imagination is Venus. That's what she does. She brings it into form by seeing it. See it in the inner sanctum, see it beautifully realized. And she will draw the earth, the moon and Venus will draw the elements to your picture and out picture it. She will out picture in the world what your deepest desire is. Um, when it comes to creating, sometimes there's a reason on the spiritual path. I want to say this too. For most of us, there's a reason on the spiritual path that sometimes our ability to manifest slows down. Sometimes our spirit has to reel things back a little bit, because as we're alchemizing, we go through some rough times, some rough periods, and all of this emotional body stuff comes up. If we could create what we wanted in those times, we might not make it through the process that we're going through. So there's been times it feels like we're all alone without anything, and sometimes that's when we feel like we can't create. Right now, though, is a time to be able to create. It's a time that we're ready to step into that. We're ready to be able to outpicture the love that's in our heart. There was one other thing about creating, seeing the picture. Oh, karma. I wanted to say that. So yeah, there's the law of karma. So talking about astrology and what we talk about when we talk about, oh, this is happening, that's happening, this is what's going on in my chart. That will have the blueprint for your lifetime. However, if you want to annihilate your karma, connect to your inner wisdom and your inner teacher and breathe and be present. That proper breath opens the heart. And when the heart opens, we rewrite our destiny. We have a new blueprint. And so that's why we're meant to go through all these processes that we're going through. We're meant to, and at the same time, it's available to us now. When we become present and when we gaze upon nature and watch her, we immediately begin to transcend whatever burdens we carried into this lifetime. Challenges will still come because we can't annihilate all of them until we've really, really, really done the work. But that's coming. It's coming for us. Um, Challenges will still come, but it's how we face the challenges. We have to face them like the good and the bad are all the same. Of course, we're going to enjoy things that are pleasurable and dread things that are painful and hard, but ultimately, they're all creative opportunities to use the power of our heart. Watch your challenges melt away when you face them with that attitude. I've had a couple big things recently that I know in my past would have quite possibly shut me down for a while. Big things can shut us down and make us freeze up, and where we go into the head and we're trying to figure out what to do. But um, the more and more things unfold, the more and more I know it's all the same. It's all the same. And you know what? A saying I've been using, and I really know the meaning of it, when you say it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter means it doesn't come into matter for you. When it matters, you manifest it. Matter, things are either in matter or not in matter. What you want to call into matter is what matters. And so, um, realize what matters to you right now. When we're being pulled in so many directions, love those people who love you. Celebrate love. Take time to stop and have tea with somebody you love, to stop and eat meals with your children, to watch your children in their activities, in their sports, whatever they're doing. Go and watch them, to listen to their little voices when they're talking to you. I know sometimes we have a screen here, this calling us, that calling us. All the nervous systems can be just overtaxed. listen. The voice of a child will open your heart, and the same with the voice of a loved one. Those people who we love have the ability to give us everything we need in every moment when we give and when we listen. When we learn how to listen and speak, use the emissive and the receptive. That's why love is so valuable, and it doesn't have to be a romantic, sexual love relationship. Although if you're in one of those, treat it like gold. Learn what you need to learn. If it's something that's going to work itself out and no longer be one day, then it will, then so be it. But while you're in it, be in it and truly, truly know the power of the heart in love. And so, I guess it's time to close out this. I could go on and on about Venus. We're gonna and Beltane. Okay, I'm gonna say a couple things about Beltane. So Beltane, the maypole, it's ancient ritual. In many you can find it in many different areas. The maypole, May 1st, represents the celebration of sexuality and the creative act on many different levels, and it represents the fruitfulness of the goddess and our ability to bear fruit, our ability to create from our heart, from our mind, from our bodies. It's about sexuality. It's about celebrating the sexual force, the power of the goddess, our power to create. So the first week in May is highly, highly potent. I usually, if I teach a course, start the first week in May, but this year, because Venus is just getting going, I decided to put it off till June. But in June is Gemini, and it's the lovers. We're going to be talking about alchemy of love in that for the Gemini new moon in May as well. However, potency in May. Counter, you hear talk about how the dark forces or the Illuminati or the Cabal, these all of these things that are present on the planet use these days as dark to access the dark. Well, use them to access the power of love. That's what they really are. They're not meant to access the dark. They're being used in a reversed way. Use that time to celebrate the power of heart, the power of the heart, and the power that you can dance and sing and celebrate. It doesn't mean you have to be engaged in the sex act. The sex act is the energy that fuels our life and that gives us creative power and that makes us feel joy. And so that's all I'll say about Beltane. I'm doing a podcast for lunar Beltane, which is the Scorpio full moon. I'm going to do that in a few days and get it out early. We'll talk more about Beltane. And I think that's it. I think I can wrap up on that. Let me see if there's any last thing I want to say. It's so good to be here. And please leave comments. Please come back and leave comments if you don't get a chance to now. We'll talk more about manifesting and how Scorpio and Taurus work together in the next one. But until we meet again, many blessings for the new moon in Taurus. Enjoy. And if you're interested in mentoring, contact me. You can reach me at the link below. And I look forward to seeing you again soon.